you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now we have to talk about that game last night. Chris Paul is on his way to his first NBA Finals appearance for the first time in his 16-season NBA career, and there's a lot that's going into that. We're going to be breaking down everything that you guys want to know, but before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Here's the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jackie Ray. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @JRayTheFanatic.
Now, just as a reminder, you guys, I'm pretty sure today is Thursday, which means it is Thursday. We have Fan or Foe coming up tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or clapbacks, you know what to do. Put them in the chat. Use some punctuation. We may screenshot it and talk about it at the end of our show in Fan or Foe on Friday. So, do that. Make sure you get that done. Send us your most insightful comments and questions. Jeremiah, I know you are always in the race to be Fan of the Week. You've kind of missed the mark the last several weeks, so maybe maybe today is your day. So put something in there. Don't be too mad. I saw Jackie asking why you're mad already, and the show hadn't even started yet.
Right.
Typical Jeremiah Smith. What is he mad about this time?
He's mad. He's saying that, Devin Booker is a bum ass version of Kobe and Clay. And I mean, the Kobe comparison makes sense to me, but Clay, that man ain't thinking about Clay, but okay, Jeremiah. Okay. Jeremiah, do you have any siblings? I want to know. Do you have siblings? I just want to know if you're like the baby. I'm the baby though, and I don't be that mad. Like, I don't know. Just let me know. I'm trying to figure you out.
He's definitely the baby, and also he's just mad when the show's not exclusively about the Warriors. So
Right.
Let's get into the news. Let's talk about what's going on. So, like I said, Chris Paul is on his way to his first finals appearance in his 16-year career in the NBA. Such a monumental moment for him. The Suns defeated the Clippers. The final score was 130-103, which also earned the Suns their first trip to the finals for the first time since 1993. It's such a long time. I can't believe that. I know. They also became the first team to reach the NBA Finals after missing the playoffs 10 years in a row. And I feel like that's a true testament to what Chris Paul's been able to do with the team. They missed the playoffs for 10 years. He joins the squad, and now they're in the finals. Like, that's pretty impressive. CP3 finished with 41 points on 16 of 24 shooting, 7 of 8 from deep, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, and 3 steals. And now waiting for the Suns in the NBA Finals will either be the Bucks or the Hawks. Which team makes it is likely going to depend on who's able to get healthy first. Right now, we know that Giannis is out and Trae Young is also out. The Eastern Conference Finals is currently tied at 2-2 after the Hawks blowout in Game 4. That's the one where Giannis ended up hurting his knee. He landed awkwardly. We talked all about that on the show, and he was seen limping off of the court. He was later walking just fine, and MRI imaging shows that there's no structural damage, which is a good sign. You don't want to see them have any sort of structural damage, but it still leaves his availability moving on in the series up for, it could change. It's still kind of a bit of a question mark. And then we know that Trae Young was ruled out for Game 4 due to that bone bruise in his foot, and he's currently questionable as well. The Suns will hold the home court advantage, so that's going to benefit them for sure. Now let's talk about the Clippers a little bit, because their finals dreams are officially done, and obviously we know that they were definitely hoping to advance further than this, but I do want to take a second and acknowledge what they were able to accomplish, because getting to the Western Conference Finals was huge for them as well.
Right.
Actually, let's take a second, Jackie. I want to get your comments on the Suns before I dive into too much of information about the Clippers. What is your take on how that game went down? Just your general overall thoughts.
That game was interesting for me to watch because just like I was all over the place yesterday, I was all over the place last night. I found myself at times rooting for the Clippers and mostly rooting for the Suns. Specifically rooting for Paul George. The Suns did an amazing job of understanding that if the Clippers were going to win, they were going to win by the hand of Paul George. And they did everything they could to stop him from being, the scoring prowess for that team. And it worked. So they did what they were supposed to do. But I will say this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the post-up, but Chris Paul got on my last nerves last night. I thought he was doing, you know what? And for me, I was like, why would you do this? Why would you do this now? We're all out here talking about how you're the missing piece for the Suns. You're the guy that really brought that whole squad together and has made this huge difference. But you're going out here and you're doing the one thing that we've all hated you for at some point. Every single person, unless he's on your team, has hated you for doing this. And you're doing it right now. And it's unnecessary. So while we're going to talk about a lot of that in the post-up, but it was just, it tainted the moment for me. It just tainted the moment. It could have been a clean, we did this on our own merit because they did go out there and play fantastic basketball. And it could have just been that. But you just tainted the moment for me, and I thought it was unnecessary. I didn't like it. Exactly, Kevin Lane. You already know what I'm talking about. Sir Flop a lot. Yep. It's annoying. I mean, you're known as the snitch and the flopper. You could have been known as either because, sports fans have short-term memory. And if you'd have gone out there and just played a dope game and just been the caveat to the Suns doing what they do, and you'd have gone out there without flopping and without looking like you just some sort of rag doll that can just be flung about at will, like we would have just given you your entire moment. But now we're just looking at you like, bruh, I low-key don't even know if I want to, like, what are you doing?
I know it is annoying to see that, and obviously flopping is part of the game, but at this stage, after we've all given him so much praise, it is a little irritating to watch all that flopping happen. But I don't want to dive too deep into that because I know we're going to be addressing it in the post-up, like you said. So let's talk about what their mindset should be going into the finals. What do you think the Suns need to do when they're going up against either the Bucks or the Hawks?
See, and this is the thing. It's not going to be this scary juggernaut that you're meeting, whether you meet the Bucks or the Hawks. It's not this. We can all stop saying that the NBA is rigged because this is not made for TV. This is not must-see TV. The Suns and the Hawks, which is what I think it'll be, not must-see TV. The Suns and the Bucks is maybe CTV, and that's only maybe if Giannis is playing. But if he's not playing, that's not must-see TV either. So they're not going up against some juggernaut that they have to worry about. Oh, is Giannis going to get hot and now he's going to shut us down by himself? First of all, Giannis isn't even that player yet. Number one, number two, we don't even know if he's going to be in the game. So now all they have to do is stay the course. And that's not fun to talk about. It would be fun to get on here and be like, oh, they're going to have to figure out a way to make sure Middleton doesn't get hot and Giannis at the same time, But it's literally like, okay, if they can contain Trey, they good. That's it. There's nothing else to say. And it's just one of those things that I don't know. As much as I saw JD in the chat earlier. He says Lakers fans can sleep at night knowing that the Clippers did not make the finals. You're absolutely right about that. We definitely feel better about that. But that's still better TV. That's still better competition. That's still a whole narrative about, okay, they've been trying to say that they run LA, that they're the new LA team, and look where they are and look what they're doing. That's a better narrative. That's I don't know. I'm sure I'll watch it just because I tend to watch basketball every single time it's on unless I'm doing something. But I might be getting work done at the same time. It's not going to have my undivided attention. So
I know it's bizarre how we are at this point in the season. We're going into the finals and the hype about it is like a little bit, there's not as much hype as you would normally see because it's just kind of these teams that you weren't really expecting to be there. And it's not so much of this fantastic underdog story that maybe people would tune in to see. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, like, so this is what's happening. With Giannis likely out and then the Hawks still kind of unsure about Trae Young, are you saying that the Suns are going to kind of have an easy road to the finals? It's not going to be as much of a challenge? Or do you think that they still have to look at it as an obstacle to overcome?
Well, you should go into every game looking at it like you're facing a fierce competitor because you don't know at any moment some guy could step up and like have the game of his life or have the series of his life, and now you're in a situation. So I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they don't have to go home and wonder about, they didn't even have to do that in this series. They didn't have to worry about how we're going to shut down Kawhi and Paul George. They just had to worry about Paul George. They don't have to sit down and really review game tape and footage and come up with solid plans. They just have to go out there and play good basketball, especially if Giannis isn't there. They just have to go out and play good basketball. If they get the Hawks and Trey's not there, they have to go out and play decent basketball. I just don't think that the Hawks are the kind of threat that really you sit down and watch tape after tape and come after scheme to beat the Hawks if Ice Trey's not out there. So I don't want to say it's an easy road, because at any moment, any person on that squad can elevate to their next level. Everybody has these growth spurts in the league. Everybody has them. And so you have to assume that in the moment where it counts, that maybe somebody's going to have this growth spurt. Maybe they're going to step up and be who they are. And I Zen Master, you took the words right out of my mouth. DeAndre Ayton is one of those people that I think will step up. So I don't want to say anybody should go on either side should go in there thinking, oh, this is going to be an easy road, because somebody's going to come out of this game that's going to surprise us. In the finals, somebody's going to come out and we're all going to be talking about, oh, this is the best game of his career. That is going to happen. I don't know what side of the ball it's going to happen on, but it's definitely going to happen. So you have to be prepared for that, and you have to be ready to shut it down. I don't think Middleton is going to be the guy, and I hope I'm wrong, Mike Glock. I know you said that yesterday. And I hope I'm wrong about that, because he needs to step up, needing him to step up. So if he steps up, that's dope as well. But it's just going to be one of those games that you kind of watch and you sit back with some popcorn and you say, okay, who's going to be the guy that steps up? But you're not going to go into it just thinking. And I agree, Gary. From what I saw on that tape, I appreciate the Bucks saying that, there's no, I don't know, huge injury. There's nothing drastic that's wrong with him. But from what I saw on that tape, you can definitely count him out. He's not coming back. And if he does come back, that would make me nervous, because all I can see in my head is that KD, he came back too soon, and we all saw his whole ACL pop right before our eyes. And in slow motion, it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever seen. And I don't want to see that again for Giannis. So from what I saw on that tape, he should definitely be out. And then it just becomes, okay, all right, basketball is on. So, it is what it is.
So then I'm going to ask you, I know we've talked about this before, but I'm going to ask you right now, since the Bucks and the Hawks look different than they have throughout the playoffs, who do you think is going to be walking away with the victory in that series? Do you think it's going to be the Bucks pulling through without Giannis, or is it going to be the Hawks?
I'm going to go with the Bucks on this one, and I'm going to default to Mike Glock, and I'm going to say that this is Middleton's moment. He has to step up. He's got to show his worth. And Mike Glock yesterday said that he was going to have a 40-point game. He told me not to forget that. He said that, and I'm not going to forget it. And I'm going to say that that's what they need. That's exactly what they need for them to win. But I do still kind of fall on it's going to be it's going to be a gunfight. I think it's going to come down. It's going to be very close, maybe even an overtime. I would love to see an overtime, because that would be fun to see. But I do have the Bucks coming out and winning this one. Which I don't have a dog in this race. Like, I won't be mad if they lose, Right. Well, if the Hawks go and Trey doesn't play, then I'm going to be disappointed, because it's like, okay. I wanted to see Trey play. And the same with the Bucks. If the Bucks go and Giannis doesn't play, I'm going to be like, okay, this was Giannis's moment to prove he is who everyone thinks he can and should be. And he's not playing now. So, okay. There's no highlight on this. If you don't have Trey, there's no highlight for the Hawks. If you don't have Giannis, there's no highlight for the Bucks. It's just basketball at this point, which I guess is good. It's just basketball.
Yes, it's good, but with the finals, you don't want it to be just basketball. You want it to be this show-stopping event. And I don't know, it's just so indicative of the entire season to be in the finals now. With the Eastern Conference Finals wrapping up, we have Trey possibly out. We have Giannis out. We had Kawhi out. We had, Anthony Davis with his injuries. We had Jamal Murray out. Like, there are so many different injuries that made this playoff run look so different. And I think it really changed the course of the way things played out. I think had we hadn't seen so many injuries, the Suns Suns wouldn't be here. And that isn't to take away from what they were able to do, because they really were, going into this as definitely like warranted title contenders. They played like they deserved it. But it's just weird to take a look at the way this series has played out and the playoffs as a whole. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the Clippers, because there's a lot up in the air for them as well. I need to find my place in my notes really quickly, because I lost it just a second ago. So obviously the Clippers were hoping to advance further than this. They were hoping to be in the finals, but the fact that they did make it to the Western Conference Finals is an achievement in and of itself. They had a franchise best playoff run, and I don't feel like they got to have a true, honest shot at the championship thanks to losing Kawhi with that knee injury. But 2021 is still going to go down as the Clippers' first trip to the Western Conference Finals ever. So, like I said, that's an achievement in and of itself. They became the first team to ever win 2 series despite falling 2-0 in each. And that happened with Mavericks and the Jazz in the first 2 rounds. And I think that this season has been a bit of a redemption season for the Clippers, because obviously we saw the way they fell apart last season, especially in the bubble. Kawhi and Paul George were just not on the same. They were not on the same page. They weren't working well together. They went into the playoffs as title contenders and then quickly disappeared and just really didn't live up to expectations. But they sort of reversed that trend and that reputation this season. It seemed like everybody kind of stepped up and they were trying to show out. We had role players performing extremely well. Paul George had his moment of redemption, which we have talked about so many times on this channel, even if he didn't really have the best performance in Game 6. So if Kawhi is going to be sticking around with the Clippers, I feel like they do have something to build on there. They've kind of set this solid foundation, and there could be room for growth for them. That being said, I don't feel like Kawhi is going to be sticking around with the Clippers. I think that he's using this knee injury as a way to make that exit so that he can explore other options. I don't think that he's particularly thrilled with the way the Clippers have been looking, and with maybe the pressure that's being put on him to be the team's leader and the team's superstar. I just don't think he wants that title and that role. So we're kind of seeing, like we've said, this San Antonio situation all over again, where the knee is he's using it as a crutch. So I want to talk a little bit about what the Clippers and how they're looking right now, what that means for the Suns. Now, the Suns obviously walked away with the win. They're going to the finals, but is this a true testament to how good they are, or did they just get really lucky? Jackie, what's your take on that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's easier to say, okay, we have to shut down Paul George, and then that's it. It's another thing when you have to say, okay, we have to shut down Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And we have to hope that Terrence Mann doesn't get hot, because there's been moments where I'm like, okay, then he falls off. But Terrence Mann has had those moments where I'm like, he can step up. He did not last night. He only had 5 points last night. But if he had stepped up, then we're looking at a different game. But he does have sparks in there. And that's why I'm saying people have these growth spurts. It would have been nice if Terrence had his growth spurt last night. But, it is what it is. So I think it's just one of those things where, yes, of course, when you don't have to contend with a Kawhi and Paul George, it's just a little easier. I'm not going to say it's 100% easy, but it is a little easier. And they did a phenomenal job. They did not let Paul George break out. I think he had 21 points, something like that. I was expecting him to have 30, but even with 30, it's still not, it's still not enough. So I think, you have to give the Suns some credit in what they did in this moment. But you do have to own the fact that they weren't playing the best Clippers at this moment in time. They just weren't. To be fair, I don't think anyone has played the best Clippers, period. Not last year, not this year. I don't think anyone has played the best Clippers, because I don't think that they've quite figured it out yet. And then, like you said, there's a lot of questions hanging over them right now. So either way, whether Kawhi was playing or not, they weren't going to play the best version of who the Clippers could be. But I want to say, and I saw a lot of you in the chat say the same thing, I want to say we got to give, regardless of the fact that they did not pull this one out, we got to give Paul George a lot of credit, because he came out there And he got a little flustered because they were doing a good job of shutting him down, but that didn't stop him from taking shots. We know that that's usually his go-to. Once he gets flustered, he doesn't take as many shots. He still went out there and he at one point, I think he had like 16 points, and then he did get up to, and there was that big run where the Clippers actually, when I believe it was like a 10-0 or an 8-0 run where you thought maybe they could get it together. And then the Suns, you got to give them credit. They shut all that down. They were like, okay, time out. Y'all come over here and let's talk about this. And then they went back out there and they shut it down. So the Suns did exactly what they were supposed to do. The Clippers tried their best, but again, they were missing that piece. I'm still not 100% sure that Kawhi is that piece, because we've also seen Kawhi go missing in the fourth quarter. Now that the fact that Paul George kind of fought through this Paul George shutdown, that makes me wonder, does he just kind of follow Kawhi's suit, a little bit? Like, is it some sort of, I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. If Kawhi comes back, now let me be clear, I don't think he will, but I think that he should. I think that he should come back, and I think he should be, somebody yesterday, and I don't know who it was, said that he's a glorified role player. Obviously, I don't 100% agree with that. But when we're talking about who we need him to be, he's not that guy. He's not the leader of the team. He's never going to be the leader of the team. And I would take a step back and I would say, okay, who's actually going to be the leader of this team? And let Kawhi play basketball. And Kawhi needs to realize that needs to be who he is. If he doesn't stay with the Clippers, that's your job wherever you go. You're the guy that plays basketball. To try to make Kawhi be the leader of that team is foolish, and you're going to set yourself up for failure. The only reason he worked before is because, they Fred VanVleet and all them, they already had their thing going. They were already gelling. They already knew who they were as a team. You just dropped Kawhi in. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what you're going to need, no matter if he stays with the Clippers or if he goes somewhere else. So, I mean, again, I don't want to take anything away from the Suns, but nobody, since Kawhi has been with the Clippers, nobody has played the best version of the Clippers. They just haven't. They haven't figured out who they are, and it's work. And I think the first step in that journey to figure out who you are as a team is to say Kawhi's not the leader, and stop assuming he will be. Stop assuming that he's going to step up and be that. Realize that Paul George is as good as he says he is. He might need a little bit of nurturing. Nurture that. And then figure out who the leader is on this team. But no, absolutely not. The Suns did not play the best version of the Clippers, and that wouldn't have changed if Kawhi was on the floor or not. I still think they would have come out with this win. I still think they would have come out with the win.
Well, and not to mention, the Suns also really haven't had to play a fully healthy any team. They were dealing with Anthony Davis when he had that groin strain. They were playing the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray. And then now, of course, they didn't play against Kawhi Leonard. I'm not saying that definitely would have changed the outcome of the way the playoffs looked or what happened, but I do think that they were kind of served this playoff time on a silver platter. It was just like, okay, this is what we're giving you. You're not really having to go up against any of these juggernaut teams. Now, a lot of people on Twitter were trolling Kawhi Leonard for, this knee injury and the load management. And there were a lot of Spurs fans who it seemed like they were just waiting for this moment to be able to throw shade at Kawhi. Leo, can you put up some of those first tweets or some of those tweets? This one says, where's Kawhi Leonard? He don't even sit courtside. That's wild. He chose the wrong LA squad. We've talked about that whole courtside issue. Let's get into the next tweet. Kawhi Leonard would have made a difference, but he didn't play, so deal with it. That's just if he played. So this is a whole other load management shade. Of course, Kawhi has every right to be sitting out right now with a knee injury. We can't expect him to be suiting up when he's actually hurt, but we've just seen him load manage so much throughout his career. This person said Kawhi Leonard, #Clipper Nation, was a real mystery after his injury. Something wasn't right about that. Must have been really serious to not even talk about now that your season's ended again. And then another tweet, I think this may be the last one. Enjoy your load management for the summer, bozo. And he mentioned Kawhi Leonard, even though Kawhi doesn't even have a Twitter account. And then Kawhi Leonard did to the Spurs what he now has done to the Clippers. Equals quit, so he's quitting. So basic. Oh, and then another one. I forgot I put so many in there. What are the odds Kawhi Leonard is done with the Clippers the way he was done with the Spurs the season after his foot injury? Does he split this free agency? So people obviously are taking issue with the way Kawhi handled everything. This is not a new storyline for him. People are always mad at Kawhi for load managing. He has every right to sit down with this knee injury, but it's just an interesting thought that I wanted to throw in there at the end of this Need to Know News segment. Now let's get into the post-up because there are some things that I'm really excited to talk about with you, Jackie. I know you have a lot of stuff coming up, so let's get to it.
I do. Let's get into this first one because you guys know, if you're new here, maybe you don't, I am not a Patrick Beverley fan. To be honest, I have never in my entire existence met somebody who is a Patrick Beverley fan. He is not a good person. That being said, I'm totally okay with this. I am totally okay with this moment in time because like I said earlier, Chris Paul had gotten on my nerves. So I want you guys to take a look at this real quick.
That's as unsportsmanlike as it gets. Patrick Beverley losing control.
But watch him even flop at the end, the whole I'm going to roll on the ground. Oh, I'm so hurt. My God.
He's like a soccer player.
Right. I'm surprised he didn't roll all the way out of bounds. Like, ow. And then wait to see if anybody was looking. Oh, ow. You know, like he's just ridiculous. I know what happened on that, though, because Pat Bev was already mad. Leo, if you could play it one more time without the sound, but I want you to watch Devin Booker. So Pat Beverley was so in his head that he mistook what Devin Booker was yelling at somebody else. And because Devin Booker yells to somebody, yells to, I don't know who was back there. I don't know if it was Boogie or whatever, but Devin Booker yells, "It's over," and then the N-word. And then right when he says that, Kirkpatrick, that's when Chris Paul gets that shove. I'm okay with this shove, and then you'll see why in the next post up. But let me tell you how Twitter reacted to this, because of course they had something to say. And I get it, you know, it was unsportsmanlike, but I'm okay with it. Your game is over. This boy been flopping the whole series. I'm okay with this. These two are not. They said any team who wants Pat Beverley on their team don't deserve to win the chip. And then this guy says typical CP3 flop, which I agree with, because again, at the end, he just kept rolling. My guy, stop it right now. This was unnecessary. But then this one, I like this one too. CP3 wasn't even paying Beaver any attention. There's no beef on CP3. It's all in Beaver's head. Beaver is against everyone. He's got no friends and no one likes him. Remember when Beaver got suspended in college for turning in someone else's homework? I do remember that. Why are you bringing up old stuff though? This is ridiculous. But of course, like I said, he was ejected. So Michael Scotto says, Patrick Beverley was ejected for shoving Chris Paul. Pat Bev and CP3 have been going at it all series. Clippers are heading home. After making their first conference final appearance, Paul will advance to the NBA Finals for the first time in his Hall of Fame career. This is why I'm okay with this. I get it. It was a sucker punch. He pushed him for no reason. But Chris has been flopping his whole life. I bet when he came out the womb, he was like, oh, ow. Like, that's just how he came out the womb. This man has been flopping his entire life. And Pat Bev was like, you know what? I don't like this dude. Our game is over. The worst they can do is eject me. I'm going to push the hell out of him. Look, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying I understand. That's all I'm saying. I totally understand what is happening here. But let me go on to this next one, because this is exactly why I think this is okay. The flop master was too much. It was too much for me. So let me show you this flop, if you can. If you can see this one, then you'll understand why I'm okay with this. So Leo, throw that first one up there.
Let's take a closer look at it. Well, Paul certainly looked to get some contact. Cousins raised that right elbow. And Paul sold it extremely well.
So this is who said that? JS said Clippers were making unnecessary contact all game, swinging legs, high elbows. Don't give CP3 a chance to flop. This one is easily to explain, because Boogie's tall. Chris is not as tall as Paul. So, or as Boogie. So he was trying to he saw, CP3 coming. So he was trying to get out the way. And then Chris was like, ooh, there's an elbow. Let me run into it and then fall down. Boogie let him know exactly how he felt, though. So if you guys can read lips, let me show you this one. Leo, if you can throw that next one up there.
Technical.
Marcus Cousins with some.
He said, "That's why don't nobody F with your weak ass." And so, Chris has been around the league, and a lot of players have this same feeling about him. Like, why are you always flopping? It's unnecessary. You're very, very good at what you do. You do not have to do this. I love this user because he gave a prime example of how Chris flops. So take a look at this one and this tweet. Look at Chris. Look at Boogie. He's like, what do you? He pushes himself off of.
That's so funny.
What is that?
That is so
this man
funny.
He is so annoying with his flops, and I can't stand it. I had to stop with the Chris, because I've been praising him this whole time. So then I had to take to Twitter, and I had to stop with the praise myself. And I was like, no, this Chris Paul thing has gone too far. I got to throw some shade at him. So I threw some shade at him. I said, Chris Paul and these over-the-top flops are ridiculous. And Dre, who I think might be here in the chat right now, he responded back. He's like, it's every damn game. And then Skip Bayless has been giving him all the praise too. And he gave him a little bit. He says, Chris Paul is playing one of the greatest games, but he's an all-time flop artist. And then Mark Jackson's burner account says, with all due respect, we knew this. This is not new information. And okay, I see somebody in the chat, Timax says, oh my God, James Harden is the biggest flopper. Nobody flops like Chris Paul. His flops be late. At least James Harden tries to time it right. Chris Paul be like, oh, did he touch me? Oh, it's so ridiculous. I cannot stand this about Chris Paul. Devin, how do you feel about this nonsense? See, this is what I'm saying. You didn't have to do this. You did not have to do this. He was going to win regardless. You didn't have to do this.
I have always had the attitude that flopping is, it is part of the game and it's strategic. And a lot of the times it ends up working. It's annoying, but sometimes also very humorous to watch. I do think that Chris Paul takes it to another level. And with him, it's just so obviously not the appropriate reaction to whatever has happened. So it's a little bit, it kind of takes away from the game. And I don't normally feel that way about flopping. I think flopping is funny, like when we see Joel Embiid flop or when we see James Harden flop, like it kind of adds to the drama of the game. And let's be honest, we watch these games because there is a bit of drama. They're high stakes, high pressure, extremely competitive, and some drama inevitably comes with that. And a flop just sort of enhances that and adds to it. But in the case of Chris Paul, first of all, it was so unnecessary. And second, it's just, he's taking it a little too far. There's the line and he steps over it a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I was really disappointed about was the refs had a moment to go and review that play, and they decided to call it a foul anyway. You got to watch the playback, and you didn't decide that. If I was the ref, I would have just looked at Chris like, why you got me over here looking at this tape? You know that wasn't no damn foul. No foul on the play. That's what I would have said. But the refs came back and said, no, it's a foul. It goes back to the refs not being, so to your point, yeah, y'all just keep flopping. Because I guess the refs are like, well, he sold it. I'm going to give him an Oscar. Since I can't give him an Oscar, I'm going to give him the foul. That's exactly what happened. It was so disappointed. I didn't like it. But Boogie, I love you. And you was right. You was right in that moment to cuss him out. And you know what? And that's why I'm giving Pat Beverley that pass. Y'all say what you want. Pat gets a pass from me. This is the only pass that man will ever get from me. He's getting a pass right now. But let's move on to this next one, because this next one, I was like, oh, Reggie, you're going to make me cry, my guy. But Reggie really tried his best. He played some of his best basketball this series. He was averaging 20 points per game this series. Last night, he had 13 points and 2 steals. You guys know how I feel about them steals. They're hard to get, and he got 2 of them. He also had 8 assists. I'm really proud of him. He did get a little emotional, and he said something that I was like, okay, I respect that. I love this moment in time for him, because he said if it hadn't been for Paul calling him and the rest of the Clippers, he wouldn't even be playing in the league right now. So let's give this man his moment to be emotional.
That year, the most challenging year, the most fun year. Not sure when you're gonna play. Ups and downs, guys being injured, still finding my way in this locker room. First thing I told those guys is thank you for saving me. I appreciate him. I appreciate every guy in that locker room. I appreciate Paul for getting on that phone last year at the end of the season when it was time to go by with Detroit. I'm thankful for everything I've experienced being here. This city making me feel home. This organization walking with me. My quirks, my strengths, my weaknesses. I'm not here to get without this team. I'm not still playing without this team, so.
I see you, Jay in the chat said Reggie needs that max deal. I definitely agree with that. I definitely think that he deserves the bag. But Kevin Pryor, I'm going to need you to stop. Every time we post a dope player, Kevin's like, he'd be great on the Knicks. Everybody not going to the Knicks, Kevin. I just need you to know that. But definitely this one kind of tugged on my heartstrings a little bit. I feel like sending Reggie a care package or something because he was just so honest and had that moment in time where he was like, this is an amazing opportunity. I know we didn't get to the promised land like we wanted, but we set a franchise first for this franchise, and I wouldn't even be playing without these guys. So it's not crocodile tears; those was real tears, and the man's eyes is all red and just Anyway, Twitter gave him a lot of love as well, which I'm glad because some of y'all, when y'all see a man cry, y'all don't act right, but. This guy legit carried the clips. He's the only guy I feel bad for. And then the one on the bottom says, I totally felt for Reggie. Wish he continues to see the light of day as CP3. He played his guts out this entire series. You need people like this, not like Kawhi Leonard, the fraud. You guys get rid of Boogie, Pat Bev, and Kawhi Leonard, and you build around Paul George, Reggie, and some other players with depth. You guys in the chat, that he basically want to get rid of the whole squad. So I think if you're going to go into rebuild mode, where if you're just going to say, hey, you know what, we're going to build around this young team that we have and these players that really want to be here, then maybe you do that. But I disagree. I don't think you get rid of Paul George if he wants to stay. And that's the key for me right now for the Clippers. I think you need to have a bunch of guys that want to be here and that prove they want to be here. And so Devin, what do you think about Reggie's little emotional? I mean, I tugged all on my heartstrings, but that was so beautiful.
It really was. And I know people always, like you said, people freak out when a man cries, but I appreciate when a man is able to show his sensitive side. Of course, I would be the one to love that, but I think that it's nice. And I think that what he said was really meaningful. And obviously he's feeling everything very deeply. So I like it. I think that it's good. I think that vulnerability is nice.
I think it's good too. And I see who said that? Zen Master in the chat said Terrence Mann. Like I said, I've seen glimpses. I can't wait till he has that growth spurt. Like I said, every player has that growth spurt. I can't wait till Terrence Mann has it because I think he's going to be phenomenal. Not quite yet, but I think he will be in the future. So I agree with you on that one. But let's get into this next one because I saw this in real time. And when I saw it in real time, I was like, Steve Ballmer, sir, what you reaching for? What was your plan? What was you doing? And I'm so glad that I wasn't the only one that needed answers because this guy just went out. He says this Ballmer double sack grab is obscene. What a sicko. That's what I thought in my head, but I was like, no, Steve would never. That's not what this is. He would not do that. I'm gonna let y'all watch it in real time in case you didn't see it. And then we need to have a conversation about what is he doing? What is he doing? What look at the guy. He was like, let go. What is
he's really going for it.
What is he doing?
I don't know.
Look at the guy with the red hat on. He's like, okay, I need you to let go. I need you to let go. I need you to let go, sir.
Okay, stop.
Right. I don't know what this was. And I am so glad that Twitter didn't either because when I saw this, I was like, I'm gonna tweet. Now people gonna think I'm crazy. They're gonna think it was just him being excited. But I'm so glad that you guys were not thinking that either. And he said, this person says, I bet he said honk when he did this. Nasty. And this one says, not the double sack grab. This one on the bottom, though, has me weak. Microsoft must have been wild with Ballmer and Gates walking around the office because you know how Gates is as well. You guys, what I'm trying to look in the chat. Mike Locke says he's coming out the closet. Oh, Zen Master, thank you for the $2. Said you're amazing. That's such a cute little gift. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. He said he grabbed the guy with the red hat harder. That's why. Oh yeah, that's true, Jay. He did. The guy was like, I would have been so uncomfortable. I don't know. Okay, but you Steve Ballmer, I guess you can do that, but you're gonna have to pay me afterwards. That's that kind of, you have to pay me afterwards. You ain't just about to grab me. And it's on TV now. That's the thing. Everybody's I would have been so upset. But anyway, let's go into this next one because I think I'm just built different than you. Well, maybe I feel like some of you guys in the chat are going to agree with me, and you're going to feel like this was not 1 ounce of shade in this, because there can't be shade in truth, right? It just shouldn't be a thing. But let me let you look at this. And this is what Steph Curry, and I thought this was very admirable for Steph Curry, who was obviously watching the game. We know that 99% of basketball players who are not playing right now are watching the game. And Steph Curry took to Twitter and he said, yo, sons, y'all did that. Respect. Congrats. 16 years, a long time, CP3. And he gave him the hands up. I mean, it's 16 years he's been in the league. He's never been at this point in his entire career. I think that's, you acknowledge that, and you acknowledge that the road that he's been on and the struggle that he's been on and the team that he's been on. I think you acknowledge that. I don't think it's shade because of that, but I'm assuming that these are Suns fans because they did not take this well, and they decided that they were going to throw some shade at Steph Curry, and they said CP3 is 10 times better than you, doesn't need a super team to get to the finals. And then this person says the same thing. CP3 is better than you. Y'all, I don't think this was shade. I think this was just him being truthful. Thankfully, some people had some common sense about it. And this says, I was never a big fan of Chris Paul, but in this moment, on this night, I can definitely congratulate Chris Paul on making it to his first finals. And I hope that he brings home the Larry O'Brien. He more than deserves it. Okay, I like that. All right, let's get to this next one. I think I have one more. Do I have one more? Yes, I have one more. Yes, and because this one, real one, Steph, this is why you're one of the GOATs. Don't hate others. All due respect. I love that. Facts, man. Look at Curry, man. So inspirational. Just acknowledge pure greatness with CP3. CP3 deserves every granite piece of the NBA Finals floor. He's been waiting too long. Thank you, guys. That's all I wanted to say. He just acknowledged the truth. It wasn't like he was throwing shade. He was like, yo, you've been at this for a long time. You finally made it. Congratulations. And with that, I want to show you this moment between Chris Paul and Coach Williams. And at the end, I think he says, good flop. Wait, watch it. Good flop, man.
Oh my God.
That's what I think he said.
It does look like that. It totally looks like that. It's like he's saying, I think that's what he said, my man, or something.
Good flop, my man. Good flop. Like, I think that's what he said.
Oh my God. Okay, wait, I have to moment.
Go ahead, Devin.
I have to jump in here about this Steph tweet because I see some of you guys in the chat are mad because I did this as a video before we went live, which is already up, and people seem to think that I'm the one saying that Steph was being shady. But if you guys watch the full video and if you listen to what I'm saying right now, so turn on your listening ears, everybody. I don't believe that Steph was being shady at all either. I think that it's a stretch to say that he was posting that, 16 years is a long time with the intention of it being like, damn, took you long enough. Like, oh, I'd never wait 16 years. And that's obviously not what Steph is trying to say. Steph does not have a bad bone in his body. And there's absolutely no way that he would take this moment with Chris Paul and say something even remotely trolly towards him. So no shade. You guys can settle down in the chat, and you can also watch my video in its entirety after we finish the live show, so you can see what I was actually saying. It is a stretch. There is no shade. 16 years is a long time, and that's why we're happy for CP3. Yeah. And with that, I'm done.
and like you said, Steph isn't that guy. He's not that guy that's going to take to Twitter to throw shade. He's not that guy. And come on, you guys. 16 years is a long time. Kevin Lang, it's Tony Baker. That's the guy that you're thinking of. He says, who's the guy that does voiceovers? It's Tony Baker. I do that all the time. Kirkpatrick, that's from Tony Baker. I should probably give him his credit. That's a Tony Baker thing. But let's move on to this next one. Because this next one, oh my goodness. I knew as soon as I saw this, I was like, I don't even want to deal with this, because I knew everyone was going to take this moment in time and just be like, oh, here we go. This is the tweet that I saw first thing in the morning when I woke up. Damian Lillard and LeBron James at the Spark versus Aces game. This is the tweet that I saw first thing when I woke up. Matter of fact, some people had sent it to me. It was like, oh, you about to get your wish. You about to get your wish. Dame is coming to LA. Of course, Twitter thought that as well. Take a look at some of these tweets. People are going to assume that Damian Lillard is going to the Lakers. Dame deserves the same treatment KD got when he went to the Warriors if he joins the Lakers. That's not even remotely the same, just so you know. But I understand what you were trying to do. But no, that's not remotely the same. But this is not the same thing. I do understand why people think this, though, because he was seen with Michael B. Jordan. I know that they're going to be working on some projects together. He was seen with Drake, and I know him and Drake are going to do some music things together. So I get why you guys arrived there. But the funny thing to me is Nets fans was like, okay, this what you doing? Y'all instantly went to, well, we got an answer for that. Let Dame go to LA. We have an answer for that. And y'all see who they got in the background? Kawhi Leonard. Is that even financially possible? Is what the person on the bottom says. And are y'all even, do y'all math? I understand I'm an English major, so I get it. Sometimes it's hard, but I don't think that's mathematically possible either. But the thing is, though, guys, that's not really what happened. It wasn't like they were hanging out at it was the Vegas Aces versus the LA Sparks game. It wasn't like they were hanging out. Dame was literally passing him by to go to his seat, and they gave each other love. I'm going to show you this, and so you can see these two gentlemen were not hanging out. Look at this. Hey, my guy, how you doing? Hey, my guy, how you doing? Hey, my guy, how you doing? That's all that happened. It wasn't like they were actually chilling and hanging out. I don't understand that. Portland, to be clear, does not have a WNBA team. They used to. And we're trying to push this narrative of NBA players actually supporting the WNBA. So this is actually a good thing. But I don't think, even though I want it to mean it, I don't think this means that LeBron and Kawhi and Dame are talking about him possibly coming to LA. Devin, do you think it means that?
Oh, I think it does. I think it does.
Really?
I think that LeBron is laying the groundwork to get Dame out to LA. And I'm saying that because not that this is necessarily the entirety of his attempts, but I think that being in the same place at the same time and the warm greeting and all of that, I feel like LeBron is just getting a little head start on his recruitment process, especially because I heard that LeBron is super unhappy with Kyle Kuzma and their relationship is really tense. And so he's wanting... I know, but like I think that now it's kind of come to a head, and just like Kuz is every single off season, he is on the chopping block. But I think that this may actually be the time that we see him go, and that would free up. I think it was like $39 million in available salary space. Yeah, so I think that could enable Dame. It could provide an opportunity for them to finagle something with Dame. So I'm not saying that this is like a definite move, but I think that there is something brewing there.
I'm not saying it's I mean, it was just this moment in time was not that. It was just the, hey, my guy, how you doing? And you know what I mean? Like, y'all know I've been pushing for this for a while. So I don't care either way what y'all think, because this is what I actually want to happen. I saw somebody in the chat said, he's not leaving. Oh, Zen Master said he's not leaving. Dame just bought a Toyota dealership and he'd have to turn around and sell at a huge loss. That's not how dealerships work, Zen. Dame ain't working at the dealership. So he can live somewhere else and keep the dealership. The dealership is not what's going to keep him in Portland. I'm just here to help let you know that. So that's not it. So hopefully, you know, if y'all want to believe this is right, I'm with it, because this is definitely something that I want to happen. But let's move on to this next one, because I definitely want to hear from you guys as to what you think this would mean, because I have one solid answer. I saw some people on Twitter say something that I'm going to give back to you. Oh, no, I'm totally missing this one. But so this moment in time, Isaiah Thomas, you know him. He's the guy that's been around the league a lot. He saw this moment where this football player is making a crazy amount of money. So let you take a look at this one. So he says, oh my God, I got to put my kids in football, because Leon is making $674 million. It's the largest largest contract in sports history by a landslide. So he is making a ton of money. Isaiah, in the 10 years that he's been in the league, he's only made, I believe, $33 million. And his last season with the Pelicans, I believe he made like $160,000. So he didn't make a ton of money on that 10-day contract. But he's trying to say, okay, I'm going to put my kids in football. And I'm like, you know, how about they just be doctors or lawyers? You know, do they have to play a sport? I mean, I get it. But do they have to play sports? There are other things that they could do that can make them filthy rich. But whatever they want to do, I'm sure he'll support. But Twitter, of course, had a reaction to this. And this person says, and their season is shorter and they only play about once a week, plus international events and a national team for a national team. That's true. They play less. They get to travel more. So I agree with this user. I think I have another tweet in there that says average football players make less than average basketball players. And then this person says average NBA players make more than average football player. There's a difference. The elite of the elite get paid more. I think that's in both leagues. In both leagues, elite players get one thing, average get another. So the comparison's not the same. I don't know enough about football to just be like, oh my God, this is crazy. But that money sure looks good. I mean, I'd take it for sure. But Isaiah, all I really want to say is, okay, this is great. But your kids can do other stuff too. They don't have to just do sports. Just throwing it out there. And I'm saying this as a sports fan, but just can encourage whatever they want to do. All right. So now let's go to this next one. Because this is the one that I really want to see what you guys think. I want to debate this one. That's why I was so eager to jump to this, because Bleacher Report posted this on their Twitter, because we know this is all a thing now with the NCAA allowing athletes to cash in. So you guys in the chat, and then Devin, I'm going to come to you. I want you to think about, some of the college athletes, the big name college athletes that have come out in the last couple of years. And I want you to answer this question. Name a pro athlete who would have benefited the most from the new NCAA policy. So who do you think, and basketball, football, whatever, name a college athlete that you think would have benefited the most from the NCAA allowing these athletes to cash in this way? I saw somebody in the chat already say, oh, no, you haven't even named it yet. Okay, so Devin, who do you think?
Well, I think an obvious person, and obviously in the post, they have him pictured right there. Zion Williamson would have really been able to benefit from this, because he was more hyped up, more talked about when he was in college than he has been since he's been in the NBA. So that probably would have been a great money-making opportunity for him. And then also going back in time, LeBron would have benefited definitely from something like this.
LeBron wouldn't have benefited because he didn't go to college. He came straight out of high school.
That's true. That's true.
Wouldn't have benefited. Yep.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually, that's a great point. I forgot about that. But had he gone to college, had he been a player in this day and age, and he had to go to college, he would have benefited from this as well. Who do you think?
So I see you guys in the chat said Tim Tebow, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is one, but I think there's one hands down that this would have worked phenomenally for, and that's Lonzo Ball, because the hype that was around Lonzo Ball and the way his daddy had been hyping him up since high school, not only if he would have been able to make money, that would have trickled over to the Big Baller brand, and Big Baller brand would have probably been a better brand. So I think Lonzo Ball hands down would have benefited the most long term from this, because I think the money that he would have received would have benefited his brand, which would have benefited his dad, and I think he would have just had the most. But I think it was Doug. It went past me. Doug nailed this thought process, because Michigan, the Fab Five from Michigan, hands down would have been the best. And somebody else on Twitter said that as well. And I didn't even think of this until I saw this, because this class was probably the best. The Fab Five was the best NCAA basketball team. I don't care what anybody said. They had Chris Webber, they had Jalen Rose, they had Juwan Howard, Jimmy King, Ray Jackson, and they were the first team in NCAA history to compete in the championship with all freshman starters. So I think it was Doug in the chat. I think you said that the Fab Five. I'm going to agree with you. For me, it's either going to be because if they have the NCAA thing now, when you've got the Fab Five and all of them can benefit because they had so much hype around them, oh, they would have killed it. They would have killed it. I totally agree with that thought process. And I'm just glad the kids can do it now. But I know a lot of these athletes are looking back like, damn, I wish I could have done that. I agree. But that's all I got for the post up. Let's get into what we not going to do, guys, because this one is a little difficult for me, because I don't even like that I have to talk about this, because I don't want to have to check my sister. I love my sister. I do. I'm glad to see her doing her thing. And I want her to continue to grow and continue to shine and continue to level up financially. But Maria Taylor, you guys. I like her. Like I said, I'm not overly in love with what she's doing as far as an analyst, but I do really, really like her. I love to see her doing her thing. But she's not that person. I don't think in the history of this show we've ever quoted something that she said. She's never broken a story. She's never sat down and had this one-on-one interview with an athlete that all of us are talking about. She's not that. That's not her role, though. She's a role player. She's been with ESPN since 2014. She's a role player. She plays her role very well. Right now, she's earning, I believe, $1 million a year, which that is great. Her contract just came up, though. So now that her contract is coming up, I'm very pro. Once your contract is coming up, it's time to renegotiate. But when I think about females in the sports industry, you know, Doris Burke, Rachel, Jamil Hill, even though I know a lot of y'all don't like her, Carrie Champion, those are the names that immediately come to the forefront of my mind. So if they're asking for more money, then I can see that, because y'all have done the work. You've been around for a long time. You've done the work. So now that her contract is coming up, you know, she, like I said, makes $1 million per year. ESPN was like, you know what? We're going to bump you up. We're going to give you $4 more million a year. We're going to bump you up to $5 million a year. That's growth, right? That's a huge bump. It's not like they said, we're going to take you from 1 million to 1.5 million or 1 million to 2 million. They was like, nope, we're going to take you from 1 million to $5 million. I think that's great. She decided that wasn't enough. Now, you guys probably know her from the NBA Countdown. I know she does the college football. I believe it's college basketball as well. But I know her from the NBA Countdown with Jalen Rose. So I want you to take a look at this tweet really quickly, because ESPN made Maria Taylor an offer that would have eventually brought her salary to nearly $5 million. She declined it. And now her future at the network is in limbo. And this is why it's in limbo, because after they offered her that $5 million and she declined it, and then they said, okay, well, we'll give you $2 million. So she kind of shot herself in the foot. And so now she's finishing out her contract. It looks like ESPN is holding on to their point, and then she doesn't want to let go of hers. So basically what she wants, you guys, is equivalent to what Stephen A. Smith is making. She wants $8 million per year. You're not Stephen A. Smith. I know a lot of you guys don't like Stephen A. Smith. Somebody came on to one of our things yesterday and said that I was the female version of Stephen A. Smith. Thank you. I know you meant it as an insult, but this man has put in the work. He's been doing what he does for 25 years. He has the reputation. He has the interviews. He has the connections, and he triggers you. Whether you like him or not, he triggers you. He keeps us talking about him. That is a skill set that man has perfected. He is very good at what he does. He deserves that money. A lot of you are probably right now Googling who she is. First people that we all mentioned: Rachel, Doris Burke, Carrie Champion. You know what I mean? Maria Taylor, I feel like a lot of you probably had to Google right now. And I love her, don't get me wrong, but she's not there yet. And I think that this is wrong to step up and ask for this money right now. Jalen Rose co-signed on it. I want you to hear his tweet right now. And I'm not mad at it because she's his teammate, but I still think he's wrong for saying this, because listen to the context in which he's saying it. Take a listen.
If you're great at what you do, you deserve the bag.
Yes, absolutely.
That easy. And Reggie Jackson deserves it. And he's playing that.
Well, if that's the case, Maria need a raise.
Yep.
Reggie Jackson had 9 20-point games so far this postseason, only 7 during the regular season. Everyone's playing for the bag.
You got an MVP vote. You got a Heisman vote.
So he says she's got an MVP vote. She got a Heisman vote. We talking about from college. Again, a lot of y'all had to Google her, probably didn't even know she played. What she did in college has nothing to do with what she's doing as a sports analyst. And here's where I always get, there's always this little give and take with me, because Stephen A. Smith went to school for journalism. That's what he went to school for. That's what he wanted to do. A lot of people, when they just play the sport, they just plop into this journalism thing. They don't even know what they're doing really. And they learn on the fly. I'm not mad at you learning on the fly. I don't think this is one of those things you necessarily have to go to college for, and unless you're doing like hard news or political science kind of thing. But I get that. But the reality of it is she hasn't earned that money yet. And I hate saying that because I don't want to down sis at all. But girl, you're not there yet. And now you shot yourself in the foot. And now they've recanted and gone back down to 2. You're not there yet. And people say, I see you, Kevin Lang, because that's the thing that I saw too. A lot of people said, well, oh, if Stephen A is making this, no, it's exactly what Kevin Lang said. Equal pay is equal to the output. You don't have the track record Stephen A does, love. You can't ask for that same type of money. You haven't earned that kind of money yet. So what we're not going to do is be out here shooting ourselves in the foot, not take $5 million. Now they're going to go down to $2 million. And you're going to be out of job. You better go back and be like, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'll take the $5 million and then earn that $8 million. You ain't there yet. What we're not going to do is pretend that you are. Love you, though.
I'm surprised that they even offered her $5 million. I have to be honest about
that.
Me too. She is great. I respect what she does. And I like her as well. But Stephen A he just does something different to audiences. And I don't think people are tuning into ESPN to see what Maria Taylor's doing. They're tuning in to see what crazy things Stephen A. Smith is saying. So I think that's definitely where she needs to step up. Not that she needs to be this crazy character, but like she's just not doing enough for the network, at least in our opinion, because we obviously agree on this one. So let's wrap up the show for the day, you guys. We are going to be back again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget we have Fan or Foe coming up at the end of the show tomorrow. So any of your questions, comments, or clapbacks may be addressed. And we hope you have a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.